The Barbarian. It's the most savage class in all of Dungeons & Dragons. The stereotypical barbarian runs about with only an animal skin loincloth, maybe some fur boots or leather sandals. He revels in fury and battle, hacking apart his foes with a great axe, and in his downtime he carouses around drunkenly. As with all the D&D classes, you get the choice to play completely into a stereotype or not. But some classes are more versatile. They have more diversity of options presented to you, and the Barbarian is actually one of the least versatile out there, particularly the Berserker Barbarian. Is it worth trading the breadth of expression for the explosive thrill of being the ultimate warrior of the wilds? Some believe so. In this video, I'm going to break down all the Barbarian class features in the Player's Handbook and rank them tiers F through actually S this time. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than my monster rankings, as I'm not going to have those scored attributes like the style, mechanics, and lore, etc. The criteria here is simple. How effective and how fun is a class feature? Bear in mind that this video is not me telling you that your character will suck if you don't pick options X, Y, and Z. In the end, just create the character concept that you enjoy playing. And if you do like this kind of class feature breakdown, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to make some more. So let's get started with F tier. We have just one class feature, which is Frenzy from the Berserker Barbarian. Now, this feature could have been so good, but the drawback of suffering a level of exhaustion each time just turns everyone off. And imagine if you then go on to accrue more levels of exhaustion. There is a reason why RPG design philosophy abandoned the spiral of death mechanics a long time ago. I personally have only seen Frenzy used once ever in all of my time with 5th edition. And it was actually from myself running an NPC Berserker Barbarian who actually went on to kill 3 of the characters in the fight. But you see, the thing is, when you're an NPC who only exists for a single fight, long-term drawbacks mean nothing. So really, Frenzy is just broken both ways. In D tier, we have Intimidating Presence, again from the Berserker Barbarian. You get this feature just a bit too late. You get it at 10th level. And really, the effect here seems like something anyone could do or should be able to do with the intimidation skill. Also, it should let the Barbarian key intimidation off of strength, allowing you to utilize your hulking physique to intimidate the foes. Next, we have Persistent Rage, another Barbarian feature that I think should have came earlier. And to be honest, some of the restrictions on the rage ability are kind of weird just in the first place. In the rules as written, if your raging barbarian goes sprinting across the dungeon room, hurtling himself towards the enemy, your rage would end because you didn't attack or take damage that turn. It makes no sense to me. So, in my games, I basically just rule that the barbarian needs to be active and aggressive in general terms in order to remain raging. So if you're not hiding or running away or sitting there drinking potions, you're fine. The real disappointment with Persistent Rage is that you just want something much more awesome at 15th level than this feature that just merely shores up some fiddly restrictions. Moving into C tier, we have Fast Movement. Not a lot to say. Running a bit faster can be nice. I seem to remember this being better in 3.5e. Then we have Indomitable Might. Whenever you make a strength ability check, the minimum result that you can get is actually equal to your strength score. So not a strength attack, not a strength saving throw. I'm talking about things like climbing, jumping, swimming, breaking open objects, dragging weight, shoving, grappling. It is effective, but a bit situational, and honestly, it's underwhelming gaining this at 18th level. Last level, your allies got spells like Wish, Gate, True Resurrection, Foresight. Come on now. Next we have Aspect of the Beast, the Bear option. This is for Totem Barbarians. If you don't have a bag of holding, no problem. You need to bust down a door or bend iron bars. You got this. Maybe it's not the best feature ever, but it can be helpful in some situations. Plus, It's always great to be the manly strongman. Right above this, we have Aspect of the Beast, Wolf. You can track creatures while moving at a fast pace, and you can use stealth while moving at a normal pace. This is another feature that is a bit difficult for me to rate. In the right campaign with a DM who knows what he's doing, these can be quite useful. As a tip, familiarize yourself with travel paces, with tracking, and with stealth. Otherwise, in a different campaign, such as a railroad campaign or just a pure hack and slash, this feature probably drops down to D or even F tier because it will almost never provide you any benefit. And finishing the Aspect of the Beast cycle, we have the Eagle option. You can see like an eagle up to a mile away, and dim conditions do not impose disadvantage on your perception checks. Totem Barbarians can seriously rival the Ranger in terms of scouting. And at the top of C tier, we have Brutal Critical. Now, critical hits don't happen all too often, but when they do, this will allow you to wreak that much more damage. This gets even better when combined with advantage from Reckless Attack, which we'll come to in a little bit. It's also better with a Great Axe. It's also better as a half-orc. Moving up to B tier, we start off with Totemic Attunement, Wolf. When you're raging, whenever you hit a large or smaller creature with a melee attack, you can then spend your bonus action to automatically knock it prone. This is a pretty cool effect. However, if you already got Totem Spirit Wolf at 3rd level, it doesn't provide too much more of a benefit for you, which is a bit disappointing at 14th level. Mindless Rage for the Berserker. You can no longer be charmed nor frightened while you're raging, and there will inevitably come moments in which this really saves you, and you will cast off the shackles of mental control and slay your manipulating foe. I don't know if this actually helps for certain spells like the domination and command type spells, but in any case it is cool, it's thematic, if a bit situational. Danger Sense. This gains you advantage on dexterity saving throws, which is good. Just remember that you do have to see and be aware of the effect. Totem Spirit Eagle for the Totem Barbarian. While raging, opportunity attacks against you have disadvantage, and you can dash as a bonus action. So really your mobility increases quite a bit, and you can much more quickly get yourself into melee against enemies, possibly even those that are trying to keep themselves away from you. This is a fun option, maybe not as appealing if you just want maximum brute power. Feral Instincts gives you advantage on all initiative checks. And during ambush situations, you can enter into a rage right away and act while your allies are standing around surprised. It's a cool panther-like instincts ability. Totemic Attunement Bear for the Totem Barbarian. While you're raging, enemies next to you have disadvantage on attacks against your allies. So it's a defender type ability, really a pretty great ability, reminiscent a bit of 4th edition. It is limited though to just the enemies that are currently 5 feet away from you. Reckless Attack is one of the coolest barbarian features. You gain advantage on all melee attacks in a turn, with the drawback of all attacks aimed at you also gaining advantage. It's just a classic aggro style option, so you're not always going to want to risk this, but when the time is right, you can kick much ass by attacking recklessly. Unarmored Defense is just a staple for the AC of barbarians, for monks as well. It can potentially get to some decently impressive high ACs, especially if you have the right mix of ability scores and magic items. It's just such a baseline ability, I have to give it some respect here. Spirit Seeker for the Totem Barbarian allows you to cast, as a 10-minute ritual only, the spells Beast Sense and Speak with Animals. Those are very helpful, they're very flavorful, they're great for all kinds of moments, from information gathering, to scouting, to wilderness guidance, to just good old role-playing scenes. And then moving up from there, we have Spirit Walker. which follows up from the Spirit Seeker. It lets you cast Commune now as a ritual, and it's flavored as a spirit totem animal appearing to give you the information and lore and guidance that you're seeking. Again, this is a feature that relies a bit on the DM being good, or at least cool enough to roleplay out the spirit and give you some insight into what's happening in the game world. But overall, I just find this sort of feature to be soulful and immersive. It's the kind of thing that leads to interesting role-playing sequences and really just enhances the story, which makes everything much more worthwhile. Moving on to A tier now, we start off with Totemic Attunement Eagle. While you're raging, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed, but you cannot sustain it, so you will fall at the end of your turn if you're still in midair. The mobility and just straight up cool factor are pretty terrific here. At 14th level, this isn't the best mode of flying by any means, but it's continuously active whenever you're in a rage, so I'd say it's pretty great. Retaliation for the Berserker is easily the best feature of the Berserker path, which unfortunately overall I think is one of the worst subclasses in all of 5th edition. You can spend your reaction to attack an enemy that just hit you, so this is very strong, though it does use up your once per round reaction, so keep in mind that after you retaliate, you're no longer threatening anyone with opportunity attacks. Totem Spirit Wolf for the Totem Barbarian. While raging, your allies have advantage on all melee attacks against any creature within 5 feet of you. Assuming you have a couple other allies who are good in melee, this feature is fantastic. Extra Attack. Now this feature is not exclusive to the Barbarian. Notably, the fighters get it, also Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Blade-packed Warlocks can get it, Valor Bards, Swords Bards. This is another baseline feature. It lets you make 2 attacks instead of 1 when you use the attack action. It's such a staple ability. It's really what allows you to dish out consistently good weapon damage. You will use this the majority of all rounds throughout your entire adventuring career. At the top of A tier, we have Relentless Rage. This is a unique and rare ability that lets you make Constitution saving throws to avoid dying while you're raging. A successful save lets you drop to 1 hit point instead of 0. Sure, this ain't Deathless Frenzy from 3.5's Frenzied Berserker, but it's the closest thing we've got in 5th edition. And now we've reached S tier. These are the best of the best, the top class features in all of the game. Kicking things off is Primal Champion. It's an amazing capstone for the Barbarian class, increasing your strength and your constitution by 4 each, and thus increasing the maximum cap from 20 to 40. While it is a passive benefit, these are your 2 main ability scores that really just feed out into the majority of everything that you do. There is a bit of a drawback to this incredible class feature. You have to make it all the way to level 20 to get it. So unless you're playing with some kind of major house rule that speeds the leveling process along, or maybe starting a campaign at high levels already, it's going to take you a while. Going from level 1 all the way to level 20 easily takes you 2 years of real-world game time, and I mean gaming every week to reach max character level. It is worth it though, my friends. The sense of accomplishment is absolutely glorious. Next is Totem Spirit Bear. This incredible feature gives you resistance to all damage types except psychic while you are raging. The Barbarian is hands down one of the most resilient types of characters in all of Dungeons & Dragons, particularly so at lower levels, but really throughout the entire career. And at the top, the crown upon the Barbarian King's head, Rage. The defining Barbarian ability, Rage. You deal extra damage, and you resist all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. As well, you gain advantage on strength checks and strength ability saving throws. There are a few restrictions. Some I agree with. You can't be in heavy armor, you can't be concentrating or casting spells or sneaking around, Others I don't exactly agree with. Like, you have to attack or take damage every round, otherwise you simply stop raging. It's not enough that you're flinging yourself across the battlefield. You have to seriously be swinging your weapon, or someone has to be hitting you. You also do lose your rage if you get knocked out. I suppose I can see that point. The rage lasts for 1 minute, aka 10 rounds of battle. You start with 2 rages per day, you slowly build up to 3, then 4, 5, 6, and finally, at 20th level, unlimited rages. Rage is awesome. The Barbarian overall really is as cool as a class as any, but I think it needs something more. More variety I think would be a good start. I really miss the variety of rages from 4th edition. Swift Panther Rage, Iron Hammer Rage, Frost Wolf Rage, Thunderhawk Rage, there's tons of them. Now Rage is basically just plain old Rage. It's the same thing, every Barbarian, every time. It can get really repetitive. The Totem Barbarian does provide some variation here and there. It's got the primal spirits flavor and those little mechanical enhancements. But the less supernatural Berserker kind of gets shafted. And when I see features like Intimidating Presence, Persistent Rage, Indomitable Might, I just shake my head thinking how they really pale in comparison to other classes' abilities at equivalent levels. It just really sucks to get some middling ability at a high level. The Barbarian's cousin, the Fighter, suffers from some similar issues, though maybe not quite as much, especially due to its additional ability score improvements, which can then translate into additional feats for some awesome customization. Again, if you want to play a Barbarian, by all means, do so. You're going to have a great time, and you will be effective as hell in melee combat. So this all leaves us with the questions of what about the other Barbarian paths from Xanathar's Guide to Everything? Are they better, worse, equal than these 2 main ones from the Player's Handbook? Well, my brave companions, I shall soon be delving into that strange tome concocted by the world's most hipster beholder. A big thank you to all my patrons, in particular Warser, Adam Wood, Dennis Cropper, Vince the Fallen Demon, and Nick the Pirate King. If you'd like to support this channel and get access to some cool things, check out my Patreon page. I make dungeon maps, monsters with art and lore and stats. I also release free monthly maps and a newsletter, so if you can't become a patron at the moment, still take advantage of all the open content. Links for everything are down below. This is Esper. I will see you in the next video. May your great axes be bloodstained, and may your adventures be many.